Hello, and behold, my very first video essay. This list contains every single game I've completed across the sentient parts of my 19 years of age, ranked and prescribed in an effort to illustrate the type of person they might resonate with, instead of just the core mechanics. A prescription, if you will, from a very healthy man. Now, given the sincerely indulgent nature of this list, I decided I'd go the extra mile and honour some of my childhood classics. Little Big Planet, an embodiment of childhood creativity. I Am Bread, a Fodian parkour game about a masochistic slice of bread. Plants vs. Zombies, the art of war. Skylanders Giants, the art of monetized awe. Skyrim, a game with objects and people. Worms Battlegrounds, the science of war. Club Penguin, an introduction to community. Goat Simulator. Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, the jazziest of the Pokemons and my first adventure. And, of course, Super Mario Galaxy, an embodiment of childhood solitude. Now, if you have a sensitive memory, I might urge you to close your eyes, but my thoughts will be spoiler-free. And, without further ado, The Witness seems simple, but it's a puzzle game that more than any other made me feel like an utter meathead. Upon giving up and googling the scope of my frustration with the game, I spoiled the moments of euphoric revelation which I was too impatient to look out for. I thought it was the game's fault that I didn't know where to go next, or whether I even had the knowledge to solve a particular puzzle, and while yeah, it kind of is, as I do still believe it's bad game design to sacrifice direction for freedom, I can't help but feel ashamed that I took that gamble and lost the opportunity to prove myself as an instrument of thought. Play this game if you're observant and patient.
Fallen Order and Survivor are a very rare breed in Disney's current landscape of mindless cash grabs and woke bullshit. If you can get past Cal's goofy-ass running animation and see it for something vital to his wonky, wide-eyed character, you'll find an unambitious yet comfortable grasp on the sprawling pre-rebellion era with lovely alien worlds, goobery goobers, and a nice dollop of that classic, giddy, goosebumpy Star Wars magic.
Play this game if you want the Souls-like experience without having to cross-reference all the details and descriptions of different gnarled old twigs.
In these two classic games, you and a friend link arms to form an unlikely duo. The sincere storytelling behind each creates the perfect juxtaposition for the hardcore and inexorable monkeying around that follows. Leaving your emotionally vulnerable daughter to go goof around in some minigame, neck and neck, to see who can balance on the wheelchair for longest, is irresistibly cheeky, like trying to hold back laughter in school or staying up all night on FaceTime.
Play these games if you want to spend time with someone.
This is a soundtrack for a video game called The Stanley Parable.
The Stanley Parable is meta. It's a delicious and delirious evening of genre-defining meta-storytelling at its finest. And somehow, in harmony with the constant fourth walling, every choice feels delicately crafted to make you feel cunning and simultaneously bewildered. Maybe your belief that you had a plan was an illusion, but nevertheless, It's your story to unravel, and the jolly narrator will keep you grinning throughout its jolly little runtime.
Play this game if you think too much.
Upon learning that the selling point of this Deathloop is respawn mechanic, I wasn't immediately enticed. However, my experience with this game was downright titillating and quite jam-packed with exploration, experimentation, and of course slick assassin gameplay. The tastiest titillation, however, comes in the form of Blackreef's sizzling mysteries, juicy little puzzles, the oozing characters, and even a tender, thoughtful, if not a little undercooked conclusion.
Play this game if you like games.
Some motherfucker looked at this cool joke of a map and thought, oh, I wonder what this needs. This needs a realistic ID-activated airlock, and then proceeded to absolutely bumfuck the dignity out of any and every unsuspecting dark-side hero to step out of their spawn. This game is a joke in the most utterly glorious way possible. We don't need any matchmaking or custom games or teams with the same playable characters because it just decorates the anarchy, the lunacy of Battlefront 2. Okay, so I don't know whether I'm going to keep these videos up, but I do know that words can't explain the magnificence of this game. Just know that it is truly, extraordinarily hysterical.
Play this game with your best friend.
If I had to describe Sifu in one word, I would choose honed. Every whack, every smack and thwack feels, if not calculated, fated to be part of your lifelong mastery as a lethal instrument in a world filled only by the song and dance of close combat. The setting is drop-dead gorgeous, with every boss fight transporting you feet first into the final act of Kill Bill or John Wick. Everybody was kung fu fighting.
Play this game if you get better with age. Now you may think, as many of these entries are quite mainstream, that I know nothing and I'm simply a sheep. A basic bitch, if you'll pardon the pun. But just as context is key in a subject like book literature, I feel an intimate understanding of a gaming classic provides vital insight into its contemporaries. What I wouldn't give to erase my thousands of hours of Overwatch and fill it instead with cult classics like Hotline Miami or experimental headfucks like How Fish is Made. An arm, my legs. But I'd give a lot. Nevertheless, I'm still young, and my time will come.
Disclaimer. I sincerely urge you to take this as knowledge for knowledge's sake. I am on no grounds recommending you play this game. I felt I had a responsibility making this video to face the insidious spirits which tempt me with delusions of moderation or reward or compromise whenever I re-download Overwatch. And so I quelled their voices with the promise that this would be a solely institutional endeavour. I'm just collecting footage. This is what I wrote. Sincerely, with 5 gigabytes left to download in the hope that it would fortify my focus and resolve in the matter. In the ensuing 30-hour week, I kept a record of every twisted piece of logic I concocted to indulge my vast experience with this game is one of great toil and turmoil. Every single time. The regret, the days of bloodshot eyeballs and the nightly on-installation ceremony, the fragile pride of a 13-year-old Genji main, the creeping temptation to just end it all. The raw addiction to a work of art that can't be worked alone. It all seems to blow away in the breeze of a well-earned victory. Nothing scratches the ego like being the underdog. An unspoken mastermind bearing the weight of your fucking pitiful team on your back. Play this game if you have nothing left in the waking world. Super hot. Super hot. Super hot. Super hot. Play super hot if you really like games. Unlike Super Hot, Superliminal is a game not of time manipulation, but space. The fact that I played this game with my dad and was often just as boggled as him should testify to its ability to think outside the box, so to speak. The core mechanic is that the size of any object you interact with is locked in your perspective, meaning every shape in the room becomes a part of your toolbox. But this isn't the only trick up your sleeve.
Play this game if you want to trip balls calmly.
Returnal is what would happen if you took an arcade game and made it into a reality. Not in the, wow, it really feels like I'm shooting aliens with a laser kind of way, but in the evil genie interprets your wish far too literally kind of way. Celine can never leave Returnal, whatever this place is, and every nightmarish apparition and broken alien translation turns out to be a cloud in the shrouds of trauma that caused her to wish in the first place.
Play this game if you're stuck in a loop. Four words. Robot dinosaurs. Robot dinosaurs. My favourite thing about the Horizon franchise is that it has robot dinosaurs in it. The feeling of seeing a robot dinosaur really makes you feel like you live in a world that has robot dinosaurs in it. Play this game if you like robots or dinosaurs. There's nothing poetic to say about Doom Eternal. All you can do is watch and listen to the music. The rhythmic succession of crunches and pulverizations which ooze from the diegetically named Doom Guy. Every weapon and every movement is a different chord in the cycle of destruction, of tension and resolution, a virtuosic flurry of bullets with chromatic explosions and colourful dissonant executions before returning you home to the hum of your chainsaw. Every enemy is a new instrument for you to learn inside and out by tearing it apart repeatedly with your bare hands. The world of Doom is rich with apocalyptic history and atmosphere, but you simply won't care because you've got more important shit to do than worry about why you're here.
Play this game if you're not worried about why you're here. It's at this point in the list that we begin to encounter some of the artistic flair which has long established video games as an art form. Up until now, we've been dealing with games solely of the mind. Games that were designed for you to have fun.
Death Stranding, as I'm sure you can guess by my feeble playtime of 20 hours, is the only game on this list that I included despite not actually completing. If somehow you don't know, Death Stranding is a walking simulator. A bloody brilliant one, but a walking simulator nonetheless. And after spending the majority of my 20 hours tumbling around in patient boredom, poorly veiled in peaceful reflection, complaining to my mum about how dumb I must be not to enjoy this masterpiece of world building and storytelling, I realised I had to accept that perhaps I'm just too high-strung to embrace that type of experience, soaking up the world bit by bit. Perhaps I can't be everything.
Play this game if you're a soluble person.
Shadow of the Colossus is an experience that will linger with you for months and years after playing it, and you won't exactly know why. The story proves that complexity doesn't always equate to impact or even profundity, and it's a story that could only be told through an interactive medium. The understated feel and pacing of the game encourages you to reflect on your purge of these silent colossi, toppling them by invading their homes and learning their movements intimately, painstakingly. Their silence begs the player for peace, to grieve, but the protagonist's senses are lost to love. As time goes by, I begin to wonder if the frustration of the awkward controls and the crawling pace and gameplay was not a drawback, but rather a fortunate coincidence, or even a choice, designed to compound with the game's gritty heart.
Play this game if you're a free thinker.
Sonder. The strong feeling of realizing that every person you see has their own life story in which they are the most important person. Now, before I continue, I wanted to say that as far as artistic vision goes, I do believe Red Dead Redemption 2 to be a work of perfection, and it hurts my soul to place it so low on my list. However, given that this is a list based on my individual tastes, I was quite frankly bored by the combat, and at times found myself frustrated by the crippling pace, amongst other things. But these aren't important, and I have to accept that a lot of people simply don't have the time to invest themselves in the mastery and strategy of games. Most people want a break from the challenges of their own life, instead of making challenges in a video game. And that's what Red Dead Redemption is. A portal to a time past where families were built and fought for rather than given to you. Every person you live and breathe and ride and survive alongside feels like a brother or a sister. Someone you know in an unspeakable way. There's not much I can say about this one that hasn't already been sung in churches and immortalized in video essays. But the thing that spoke to me was that no matter the choices you make, the mind-boggling depth and complexity of the world you get to interact with. The overarching story is something that every player finds himself in. The plot is Arthur's, but the freedom to take part in the world is entirely yours, and that's what creates the space for you to find a part of Arthur in yourself.
Play this game if you want an escape. As I, like any mortal, I'm restricted by the constant passing of time. A good chunk of this list is dictated by the experiences and other proclivities of my younger self. I've done all I can to look beyond nostalgia, but at the end of the day it's night, and as it's impossible to be an impartial observer anyway, I'd like to think that you can imagine the trees if I show you the forest.
Ghost of Tsushima proves how simple it can be to populate an open world. Rockstar's Wild West is rich with treasure maps and Sonder. CD Projekt Red's Northern Realms are crawling with tales and monsters. Nintendo's latest incarnation of Hyrule is completely soaked in creative freedom and mystery. Tsushima Island has its clairvoyant winds and foxes, and most importantly to me, its haikus. Without this mechanic, sure, I would have cherished the themes of honor and desperation in the story, and I would have more than enjoyed the dreamlike array of death instruments, the spicy swordplay. But I never would have written the world around me. Fundamentally, the lack of landmark for the haikus encourages you to keep looking for meaning in Jin's surroundings. It's so rare in a game that you're given the chance to create through the character you adopt. It's an opportunity to invest a little bit of yourself in something for which you're usually just a conduit or a spectator. The simplicity of a haiku makes it so easy to project into Jin's perspective, just like the interactive thoughts you have during his naked and vulnerable hot spring reflection time. Almost an antithesis to my last entry, where I connected a part of myself in Arthur. I wove a little piece of my mind into Jin Sakai.
Play this game if you like listening to the wind.
As the holy grail of roguelikes, the core of Hades' gameplay loop is in the scrutiny of every boon, abilities granted to you by your uncles and aunts, and the boundless exploration and experimentation of the synergies between such boons, which craft your playstyle for each run. The hook of this design philosophy, for me, is the personal mix of skill expression and strategy. The fact that death is integrated into the gameplay as a chance to grow stronger means two things. Anyone can enjoy this game, and anyone who, like me, wants to prove themselves can do so with just the right amount of random chance to convince yourself that you are indeed a strategic mastermind and a gaming prodigy.
Play this game if you're a strategic mastermind or a gaming prodigy.
But the gameplay is just the foundation for the cast of personalities that make up the Greek pantheon of gods. As you uncover the past hidden from you for your protection, you meet countless interconnected and fully fledged characters in a world not so different from our own. The game deals with a whole host of themes, all soaked in the lavish coolness and the philosophical nuances of being a god. But all of them to me were washed over by the overarching story of selfless love and protection. The year is 2020. The second wave of COVID has just hit. I prepare to suspend my old PlayStation 4 out of a window, and another dedicated server begins. 3 grown black men, grotesquely misshapen like wet jigsaw pieces, rise from the sand and punch trees. Whatever my teachers say on Zoom pales in significance before the naming of my first dodo, the commander of many to come. For legal reasons, I cannot utter the name of such a creature, but know that it struck fear into the hearts of man and beast alike. When I look back at games like Ark, I ask myself, what was the point? Why did it matter if my level 150 Therizinosaurus had 100% taming efficiency? These days all I care about is skill and thought or expression. But back then the daily grind was both an exercise in imagination and an ordeal through which us young budding chaps would bond. It was curiosity that led me to find out how many personal dimorphodons I would need in orbit to be unstoppable, or whether this procedurally generated rock would be a safe spot from which to pelt rocks at a Stegosaurus. And it was a sense of honour for our shared struggles that led us to build a taxidermy museum for our fallen brothers.
Play this game if you're unemployed.
These days, everyone and their dog are trying to replicate the magic of the Souls series. And while that might sound exhausting, I can't complain when it leads to the making of games like Lies of P. In it, you play as Pinocchio in a city of corrupted machines called puppets, sent on a path of destruction by your father Geppetto. The gameplay takes heavy inspiration from Sekiro, while still being refreshingly original. The themes of this game center around the meaning of humanity, something which is becoming ever more poignant on an Earth similarly populated with AI. The surface of the story is much more clearly presented than the typical FromSoft style, while still maintaining the space and glint of life that makes the world feel so hauntingly real. The reflection that this type of empty world provides is something I'll touch more on later, but beyond that, the distinct essence of Lies of P is in your vicarious rediscovery of what it means to be human and to love compulsively and irrefutably.
Play this game if you don't understand humanity.
When writing the script for this video, I had to refrain from aligning every difficult game with the Souls philosophy. Celeste is a bright, bubbly game about a girl running from her problems, and parallel to Dark Souls, but on the opposite end of the spectrum, it's the ultra simplicity of the story that makes it resonate with the player. All of us have something to run from or freedom to achieve, whether in the form of a mountain or the more nuanced internal struggles of our endearingly gibbering protagonist, Madeline. The refinement of the gameplay gives you a sense of control in an otherwise overwhelming life. The universal narrative of perseverance in the metaphor of a mountain and the ambiguity of her life before the climb gently encourages you to see the climb through the lens of your own life. Rather than providing everything for you to find yourself in, Celeste sets very little in stone, letting the music and the atmosphere transmit the shape of what the story might mean to you.
Play this game if you're running from something.
When I stop to consider the order of my ranking, I sometimes struggle with the idea that games with so much raw soul and artistic significance might not make it as far as a cool game like the next three entries. And while the story and themes of class and power are by no means laid on thin, Dishonored 2 is just so deliciously slick and freeing that I can't lie to myself and pretend that I didn't enjoy my time more. Go play Dishonored and embrace the sense of every grimy nook and cranny of the world. Jump off a building and slit a man's throat. Let go of the deeper meaning for a moment. After all, it's probably good to save some of that for the real world. Cuphead is another simple yet irresistible delight to the senses. No other game could enact so many atrocities on you and your brother and keep you smiling. I guess you could say it's a cup half full kind of game. There's always one thing too many in the acrobatic dance of evasion, always one pirouette short of safety. The supreme whimsy and joy with which every vegetable, creature or cryptid is hand-animated to life lulls you into a sense of delirium, in tune with the jaunty ragtimey soundtrack. The very act of leaning forward, elbows on knees only to wiggle off into the sky after touching a rogue seagull or a laser beam, feels cartoonish. There's always just one too many things happening for you to feel completely lucid. The creative power exercised in bringing the mundane to life is staggering, with you and Mugman looking like apparitions inside a little boy's crayon. Upon my ceremonial recital of the words, do or do not, there is no try, and the promise that this time, the 31st consecutive run really is the one, I could never feel a warmer, more heartfelt sense of delusion.
Play this game with your body if you want to feel like a kid again.
It's not often that comedy is intertwined with dark themes. A few of my favourite examples include The Truman Show, Bo Burnham's Inside, or my all-time favourite, Llamas with Hats. The bleak tones are not only exposed by the contrasts of the humour, but in these cases, the levity of their fictional characters could signal many things. Ethical recklessness, being desensitised by endless consumption, or exhaustion and indifference through isolation, or perhaps even desperation and insanity. Considering games as an art form often furthest from reality, it's very easy to enjoy GLaDOS' sarcasm and one-liners as just entertainment. Just banter, cutting through the silent, brain-damaged protagonist straight into the player. And while, like all dark comedy, it is still there to be enjoyed, the development of history from the first game, the schizophrenic scrawls on the walls, the freedom of the outside world, draws some small part of you to connect to the truth of GLaDOS' unhinged, yet indifferent cruelty. To question the authenticity of consciousness, or to wonder whether the greed of science could really lead us into the hands of a machine. But also, this game is loads of fun.
Play this game if you're more than a test subject. It feels wrong to talk about Tears of the Kingdom without its roots in Breath of the Wild, so I'm not going to. But know that it, in my opinion, sits just out of reach of perfection.
As a recently self-proclaimed video essayist, it's no surprise that the world of Undertale would serve as a mine of delightfully quirky twists and eccentricities, subverting every inkling of expectation and simmering my curiosities like a family of clowns emerging from a monster truck. I couldn't go 5 minutes without jotting down something that made me chuckle or reframed my perception of what a game can be. Like literally, what even in the music is everything, and the characters are even more when you take the time to get to know them.
Play this game if you like people.
Here we are at the precipice. The first entry in the FromSoft series. Now, I'm not going to pretend I understand the world of Dark Souls, but I think this is part of its visceral beauty. Just like the world we live in, there are too many tales to tell and secrets to grasp in one lifetime. Just like the world we live in, the stories aren't shown or told to us, but play out around you. This feeling of transience connects you to all those that came before and shared in the game's adversity, a lesson which transposes onto almost any pursuit of life, to keep living and learning, not in spite of the fact, but because one day it will all crumble to dust and ashes.
Play this game if you wouldn't dare go hollow. We do have to wonder whether this list is entirely compromised by violent fluctuations in, for example, emotional stability, patience, spare time, analytical tendencies, etc., etc. We also have to wonder whether the sanctified, high-ranking entries will remain towering above the rest as a monument to youth, as life ultimately drifts towards the mundane.
When going for a long drive, I like to play a game where I play a part of the Minecraft soundtrack and ask, when do you think this track plays? To which everyone responds with a different snapshot. The first night in a dirt hut, getting lost in a cave, finding your stuff at the end of a ravine, running from skeletons, using an enchanting table, harvesting crops, jumping to and fro on a half-built building frame. But the answer, I always exclaim with glee, is that nothing triggers any particular track. They play at random. Everyone who plays Minecraft experiences it in a unique order. Every world and every lifetime is a different album in a new place. And I think this is a big part of what made Minecraft so special. Transforming the generations it touched into a community. Freedom alone isn't enough to make anything your own. You have to connect with it in a way that no one else possibly could. Try to think back to the first time you played Minecraft. I wonder if you can, because I can't. And yet each playthrough feels less like a routine and more like a reincarnation.
Play this game when you're at peace.
God of War was the first story which had me, at the ripe age of 12, wish I could experience it through a different perspective, that being the perspective of a father. As we grow up, we make pledges to ourselves never to repeat our mistakes, but sometimes you keep an impurity, and your past comes back to haunt you. In my limited boy perspective, the message is that you grow into your own person. It becomes clear, especially through the enigmatic use of prophecy, that neither the past nor the future is clean-cut, and your path is your own to find. This is far from the only thing that sets these games apart. I was practically stood on the ceiling the first time I laid my gaze upon the world serpent. And I think it's a story that has something for everyone.
Don't play these games if you think you've already grown up.
My house was always the house we'd hang out at, and so my friends would be there to witness every 100th boss fight or so. One of these times, I set the scene, having spent less than an hour studying the dance-like movements of Ishin, the sword saint, tufts of white swaying in the breeze of each stroke. A 4-phase boss, crawling out of the underworld through his grandson, concealing a fucking semi-automatic pistol. It goes without saying that I was nearly foaming at the mouth, and having mentally prepared myself to spend another 2 hours tuning myself to even reach the third phase, I found myself parrying every strike, Mikiriing every thrust, and channeling every fork of lightning before my very own eyes, as if surrendering my conscious senses to blind awe. Only a game so devoted to the intimate trust and understanding between it and the player could make me feel such torment, like splattering paint over a sketch and making a masterpiece. You come to love the process of learning and adapting as you feel the muscle memory sink into your hands. Nevertheless, that frantic hysteria was a feeling I'll never forget. A year or so later, I was showing my dad some Etsy paintings I wanted to have framed in my room. I told him one day every wall in my house would be dotted with portals into other worlds, open to anyone who'd visited them. He said he loved them, and that maybe my wife would let me keep them if I didn't tell her they were from video games. I don't really know why I settled on this scene of the wolf gazing out into an almost fluorescent woodland. Something about the silence of the world and the meditative state it pulls you into, the brutality, the discipline.
Play this game if you're immortal. As we ascend towards the top of the list, these games become so personally meaningful to me that their memories are mostly anecdotal. I hope the shadows cast by each one will give you an idea of how brightly they could glow for you.
Everything I said about Dark Souls 3 is grazed and nurtured, given space to breathe in Elden Ring. How the obscurity of the lands between drenches you in a sense of realism that you can only find in emptiness and silence, or the chaos that branches from it. Unlike almost every other game on this list, there's no music designed to convince you of the weight of the world, or the spirits of the people in it. There's only the space. Every secret of the lands between beckons you to a different corner of the map, summoning you to string them together across the cosmic underground lakes and mountains. In the lands between, or any of FromSoft's worlds, you are tarnished. You are anyone. You are no one, just like everyone on Earth.
My memory of Elden Ring played out through a time I tried to forget. A chain of events that often feels less real to me than Torrent's watery, airborne footsteps. The presence this world had in my mind was so strong that it served as a backdrop or a graveyard of memories in our modern webbed lives. Play this game if reality isn't enough for you.
A book read by 1,000 different people is 1,000 different books. But what happens when a book is already 1,000 different books? Disco Elysium is beautiful and scary and vulnerable, in its art style, in its music, in its tectonic writing. But it's almost difficult to describe Disco Elysium as a game because there's not really any gameplay. Instead, you have choices and ideas to explore, outlandish ways to express yourself to the very edge of humanity, or any of the 16 entities which comprise your vast mind, each one a liminal friend you learn to trust like family. Your thought cabinet, which you use to warp your perception of the freshly painted world around you in order to uncover its scars and its fears and everything in between. The sense of exhausting every possible configuration of these thoughts and conversations seems to both ground your playthrough as your personal, solid reality, as well as sprinkle the world in tangible mysteries just out of your grasp.
And then sometimes, those few weightless moments which surface out of the blue and wash through you like a living memory, a breath for your own soaked imagination. It's the only game I've played which plays in real time. I don't quite know what it was that kept me coming back to Disco Elysium, to crawl through another day in the shoes of a brain-damaged basket-case detective with a talking necktie. There's something relaxing and familiar about surrendering to the wildest, most utterly whimsical, loathsome, apocalypse-heralding, and most shamelessly fallible thoughts capable of knocking around in our ancient reptilian brains and using them to connect with the city. Something which I plan to investigate further in an essay of my own. Play this game if you've lost something. Trying to explain my Bloodborne is a masterpiece. It's like trying to draw your first bedroom from memory. Most of it was in the dark and populated with dreams or nightmares or apparitions, and you never quite understood where the sound of crying was coming from. The shapes and structures of the lore endure in your mind, but they only fit together for an instant when you have eyes enough to see. There were things you liked and figures you felt safe with, but you don't know why, and you can't be sure if you ever really did. Yet this means the stories that survived are all the more visceral. Play Bloodborne if you like the morning after a nightmare. The Witcher 3 was my first ever open world experience, but the depth of its characters, the character of its cities and boroughs, dressed the northern realms into a world that still to this day feels alive with so many stories and townsfolk that I'm yet to meet. I look back and thank my older brother, Saint Joey, for exposing my young, noisy mind to so much grit, and most importantly, freedom to approach it however you like. The endearingly gruff and withdrawn character of Geralt of Rivia is constructed to provide the perfect shell to house your own personal interior Geralt, as the game grants you extensive freedom over how and when to express the heart you feel most fitting for Geralt's story. And yet, similar to Geralt's hat-wearing counterpart, Arthur Morgan, the heartfelt writing channels you into Geralt's spirit and choices, and rather than, like many games of the genre, opting either to take control of the story out of your hands entirely, or to eradicate any coherent personality from the protagonist in order to let you, the player, express yourself and exercise your imagination. Both of these routes can work wonderfully given the right intentions, but this way, by the end of the game, Geralt feels more like a close friend of a character, and his family become your own. Play this game if you have a hard shell. Okay, let me try to explain why Animal Well is the clearest, simplest embodiment of a video game. It's a thoughtful experience, relying not on instinctive mechanical control, but on your choice and mind, and yet everything you experience as this little orange blob is unique to the medium. Most of the secrets that float around in every passageway aren't really hidden, they're just asleep. Each mystery feels like a treasure hunt or a toy rather than a maze, or, if you go deeper down the rabbit hole, like a riddle. The point is, every gust of air and puddle of water becomes a tool for you to play with. Each tuft of grass and crack in the wall feels like it's important, like a cog in the machine,
but also like a swing in your labyrinthine playground. Every sound is quite literally music, and the chatter of the birds and the water droplets become framed paintings on the wall of every room you visit time and time again, until the whole well becomes a gallery with every exhibit dancing around in the back of your mind. The supreme whimsy with which you wield your arsenal of colourful toys is utterly unparalleled, and the wordless animals you meet teach you to take that joy out with you into the world and share it with all you encounter. I vividly remember encountering a duck or a chinchilla and identifying it instinctively as a Goomba equivalent threat, only to jump head forward, sooner or later, into Billy Baso's gnomish design, jaw to the floor with adoration or awe. This game seems to know you. It recognizes the wordless blob in us all, and it is perfect.
Play this game if you're a whimsical person.
Recently, an housemate of mine began their very first descent into Hallownest, and sure enough, one by one the rest have come to tag along for the adventure. Each of us trying our hand voicing a character: Elderbug, Quirrell, Cornifer, Sly, Hornet. Each one has been adopted and brought to life before our council, debating the most accurate voice based on their songs and sounds, and as deemed worthy by the two house scholars. Every room in Hallownest has a voice and a face, the unique scuttle and flutters of tiny feet and wings. If you blink, you'll miss something. A sparkle in the background, a crack in the cave walls, an unread mind. I vividly remember riding home to Dirtmouth after a long day out exploring to lie down and fall asleep, overcome with tranquility, hearing the sedated piano and violin resounding in juxtaposition to the bubbling personalities of every quaint little bug. Most of these bugs are just defending their homes, and despite the lonesome, almost mournful air to the abandoned kingdom, everyone's just going about their business. One of the central themes is that of Void and Dream and the antagonism between them. Void is seen as a sort of purity, an ability to stay in control and not to be dominated by Dream or desire. A notion which seems bleak, but also one which has a great deal of nuance and enigma, perfect to interpret your own steely will through the vessel's rounded black eyes. The storytelling is simple, but its effects can be seen rippling through the inhabitants of Hallownest. The overarching message of the story, and of the protagonist itself, fighting an infection of Dream, is one that tends to conflict with my general concept of humanity, making for a very thoughtful end.
Play this game if you're a dreamer.
If you know me well, you may be familiar with the experience of watching me wave my goosebumpy forearm in your face as I share with you something I really, really love. It happens for me in a moment of understanding or memory, like a river washing over me, or like a coalescence of all my past me's. Breath of the Wild is a perfect embodiment of this feeling. Everywhere you wander seems familiar somehow, like you've been there before. The feeling of trickling back and forth over the hills and far away to the faint orange glimmers of shrine light is one of raw, infectious freedom. It's almost impossible not to get lost somewhere in the forests, chasing beetles and fireflies. I've spent a long while pondering about why it is that everywhere felt familiar. It seems obvious now that from the beginning, the photo album on Link's Sheikah slate is all that remains of his core memories. The search forces you to see anything and everything familiar in each snapshot. It forces you to appreciate just how tiny you are, to listen to every thistle in the wind and rustle in the grass, to comb the landscape and see every single angle, every line of sight. Another wrong answer to the riddle. Many would call me a perfectionist, but by no means am I a completionist. Because for me, the right ending is crucial to something being perfect. The idea of devoting all my time to one pursuit when life is so full of variety makes me fidget. Yet the time I spent finding every 100 Koroks became an act of being rather than doing, and every day since I've asked myself, but what if there's something hidden there just beneath the surface? The cool part is that since I can't always check, I never stop wondering. Mysteries are a common theme in my life and in this list, but sometimes the only one you need is the wild and giddying mystery of where to go first. Along the path of my infectious adventuring, I began to wonder if it might be wrong to complete a game like this, in the same way that the real world would be wrong if you knew it was finite. Obviously these games are made for kids, but how many kids do you know that aren't intrinsically full of joy? Link's complete lack of voice puts you in his boots, makes you feel like it's easy to be a hero, like it's simple. Looking back, it's easy to forget the way that every small act of freedom is a challenge. I'm sure it's clear I could talk for more than a jiffy about the distinct magic and trust shared with the player in Breath of the Wild, compared with Tears of the Kingdom. An investigation into the power of expectation, or hope, or belief lies ahead of me, and alongside it, more fundamental questions of whether disappointment can be worth excitement in hindsight, or whether exploration is truly exploration if you don't find anything. But regardless, know that these two games have me enchanted.
Play these games if you're a curious person.
The Last of Us is not a story about rebirth, or the rekindling of the fire, or about the opportunity that comes with loss and change, or the beauty of transience. The story of The Last of Us forces you to reevaluate what you thought you understood about morality. Every dark deed seems to annihilate on impact with its dark origin, until everything just seems like a different branch of the same revenge against nature. Everyone gets painted in the same light, more or less. I find it reveals my emotional fallibility to look back and remember hatred of certain characters in my limited perspective, and realize how my attachments warp my judgment. But that's part of being human. We can't expect to ever see the full scope of humanity, so we make our own families and our own loyalties. When I try to explain to my real family why The Last of Us and other similar games are more impactful to me than any movie I've seen, I describe the time you spend living as Joel and Ellie. Not everything is perfect or even notable. The quiet in between the conversation brings the post-apocalyptic reality to life and makes the whistling and the puns and the promises into lights that fend off the darkness.
Play this game if you think you can tell blue skies from pain. I can't tell you much about this one. I used to lie awake at night, thinking back over each awakening I had playing this game. The dreams consumed by my wish to forget. But the dreams come back,
if you learn to accept that time has to take its course, for change, the only and wonderful constant in the universe, to form. Even ignoring my emotional volatility for this one, having constructed a good chunk of my soul around its philosophy, I still couldn't tell you because my recollections of this game are blanketed away, left to sleep in the back of my mind in the hopes that one day in 10 years or 20 years or 30 years, I might stumble upon the old foundations that I built upon in a new light. Maybe if I'm lucky, I'll do it once or twice more before I keel over and die. Outer Worlds is a story about revelation and rekindling and rebirth and the opportunity that comes with change. In a way, that's what rebirth is about, the excitement of forgetting, the yearning for it, the skill in it.
Play this game if you're afraid of death. Whoop-de-doo! My opinions about some things that I love. Hopefully they'll change over time, but I honestly don't know whether anything could ever eclipse the titles which were so integral to my development as a young boy. But I hope they do. And I hope whoever's watching will be along with me for